Hi guys, we're going to do quiz corrections from last week. So you can do corrections on any of the problems that you missed. Take a picture and email the corrections to me, and then I'll go back into Canvas and adjust your score. So we're just going to look at the ones that were the most commonly missed. So I have 6 out of the 10 that we're going to go over together. The first one that we're going to look at is number 2. So it says to find the surface area of the prism. So surface area is the area of all of the faces and then adding them together at the end. So a rectangular prism has 6 faces. So let's start with the front and the back. So I'm just going to say F and B for front and back. So it looks like the front face is 11 centimeters by 6 centimeters, which means that they are both going to be congruent. So the area of each of those is going to be 66 centimeters. Okay, now let's look at top and bottom. So it looks like the bottom face is 11 by 5. So we're going to do 11 times 5. Both of the faces are congruent, so that gives us 55 for each of those. Okay, and then the left and right faces. Okay, those are 5 centimeters by 6 centimeters. So we're going to multiply 5 times 6 for each of those, which gives us 30. And then we will add all 6 of those answers together, and that will give us 302 centimeters squared. Okay. Okay, the next one that was commonly missed was number 4. It says if the volume of the triangular prism is 1080 centimeters cubed, what is the height of the prism? So first of all, we have to know what is the formula to find volume of a prism. Well, to find volume of any type of prism, we always do area of the base times the height. So this capital B right here stands for area of the base. Now, by definition, the base of any prism is going to be the 2 faces that are congruent and parallel. Whatever the name of that figure is a huge clue as to what the base is. So, excuse me, if this is a triangular prism, then the bases are going to be these 2 triangles here. Okay, we also already know the volume. We know the answer already, so I'm going to start by replacing V with 1080. Okay, now going back to the triangle that we were just talking about, area of this triangle, we're going to do base times height divided by 2. I'm actually going to put that in brackets because it's going to have some other parentheses that we need to use as well. So the base is 12 for that triangle, the height is 10, then we divide by 2. So all of this right here will give me the area of the base. Now times the height, that's my unknown. We'll have to come back and solve for that in a minute. Now, when we do 12 times 10, that gives us 120, and then divide that by 2, we get 60. So now on this side, we have 60 times h. Over here, we have the 1080. This right here is multiplication. To undo multiplication, we're going to do the opposite, which would be to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 60. These are going to cancel out, and then when I divide, I get 18. So the height of this prism, okay, this measurement right here would be 18 centimeters. When you get your answer, you can also double check visually and just kind of see, does that seem reasonable? So if this side length right here is 12 and we got an answer of 18 for this, it should look just a little bit longer than the side that's labeled 12, and it does, so it seems to be reasonable. Okay, moving along, number 7 says how much wrapping paper is needed to cover a rectangular box that is 20 inches long, 14 inches wide, and 6 inches high. So I went ahead and drew a little visual to have things already set up for us. First of all, if we're talking about wrapping paper, okay, that's the outside of the figure. So that would be all of the faces. Now, realistically, in real life, the wrapping paper does, overlap. But pretending that we have wrapping paper that fits exactly around, that would represent the surface area. So we want to find the surface area of this prism here. So let's start with the front and back faces. So the front, it looks like, is 20 by 6. So we're going to do 20 times 6 for each of those, which gives us 120. Okay, now let's do top and bottom. Okay, so it looks like the bottom face is 20 by 14. So we're going to do 20 times 14 for both of those, and that gives us 280. Okay, and then finally we'll do the left and the right faces. And it looks like each of those are 14 by 6. So we're going to multiply 14 times 6. And that gives us 84. And then final step, we're going to add all 6 of those faces together, which gives us 968. And what's our unit? Inches. Inches squared. Okay, so that is the amount of wrapping paper that we would need, or the surface area. Okay, next is number 9. So this is technically a two-part question. It says find the surface area and volume. So let's start with the surface area. So that would be the area of all 5 faces, and then adding them together at the end. I always like to start with the 2 triangular faces that are congruent. So I'm going to call that T1 and T2 for triangle 1 and 2. So this triangular face right here has a base of 7 and a height of 5. So we're going to do 7 times 5, then divide that by 2. Okay, that's going to give us 17.5. So because these are congruent, if triangle 1 has an area of 17.5, this one in the back would also have an area of 17.5. So far I have 2 faces that are 17.5 each. Okay, now let's go to the rectangles. There are 3 rectangles, so I like to call those R1, R2, and R3. Okay, let's start with the rectangular face that's on the bottom here. So that one's going to be 7 by 13. So we're going to multiply 7 times 13, which gives us 91. Now let's go to this face over here on the right side, and this one is 3 by 13. So we're going to multiply 3 times 13, which gives us 39. Now let's go to this rectangle over here on the left side. They've told us right here that this side is 3. Now this side and this side, those are not specifically labeled, but I know that opposite sides are congruent. So if this one over here is 13, that means that it's 13 on this face as well. So the right and left faces are actually congruent. They're both 3 by 13. And so that one will be 39 as well. So I have these 5 answers that then I will add together to get the total surface area, and that comes out to 204 feet squared. So that is our surface area answer. That's the surface area. Okay, I'm going to erase that part so that we have more room to do the volume. So let's erase that. Okay, and now let's look at volume. So volume of any prism, whether it's rectangular, triangular, is always going to be area of the base times the height. By definition, the base is going to be the 2 faces that are congruent and parallel. It does not necessarily mean that it has to be sitting on the bottom. So whatever the name of the figure is, if it is a triangular prism, then we know that the base is going to be a triangle. So the area of the base, we're going to do 7 times 5 divided by 2, which we already have that answer from the previous problem finding surface area. So 7 times 5 is 35. Dividing by 2, we get 17.5. So I'm going to go ahead and put that answer here. Now, we're doing area of the base times the height. Again, you have to slow down and think, because height, a common mistake would be to choose this 5 right here, because when you hear height, you think, straight up and down. Well, actually, height is going to be the length of the side that connects the two triangular faces. So that's going to be the 13 right here. So the height is 13. Okay, so we end up doing 17.5 times 13 to get the final volume answer. And that comes out to 227 5/10 feet cubed. So this is the volume. Okay, I believe we have just one more that we're going to look at. Number 10 says Jamie covered a box that is 12 inches tall, 6 inches wide, and 5 inches long with wrapping paper. The paper costs 4 cents per square inch. How much money will Jamie spend on paper? Well, as soon as I hear wrapping paper, that's a hint that I'm talking about surface area. So also another hint, per square inch, if we had been talking about volume, it would have said cubic inches. So we know we're dealing with surface area. First, let's draw a visual here just so we have something to kind of go by and label the sides. So it says 12 inches tall, 6 inches wide, and 5 inches long. So we want to find the surface area. So let's go ahead and look at our 6 faces. We'll start with top and bottom. So this bottom face is 6 by 5. So I'm going to do 6 times 5 for both of those, which gives us 30. Now let's do left and right. So this right face right here is 5 by 12. So we're multiplying 5 by 12, and that gives us 60. Okay, and then what do we have left? Front and back. So the front face looks like is 6 by 12. And then the back will be congruent to that. So that gives us 72. Okay, now I'm going to add all 6 of those faces together to figure out the surface area, and that comes out to be 324 inches squared. Now, the question asks, how much money will Jamie spend on paper? Well, if he needs to cover 324 square inches and 1 square inch costs 4 cents, we're going to multiply the surface area by the cost for 1 square inch. So we're multiplying 324 by 4 cents, and that comes out to be $12.96. So that's our final answer for the cost that he is going to spend. So like I said at the beginning of the video, you can do corrections for any of the ones you missed, not just these 6. I chose these because they were the most commonly missed, but if you missed other ones, you can certainly correct those. Take a picture of your corrections, email them to me, and then I can go back in Canvas and adjust your scores.